What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another NFL video, and in this video I will rank the very best position groups on the defensive side of the football going into the 2019 NFL season. And unlike my offense video where I rank the top 3 teams at every offensive position, I will give you the top 5 teams at the 5 defensive positions going into 2019. Those positions include the corner position, the safety position, the linebacker position, the interior defensive line, and the edge rushers. Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this, and comment below your opinion. Do you agree with my list? Do you agree with every position, or do you disagree? At number 5, I have the Green Bay Packers, a team that made major strides at this position over the course of the 2019 offseason, adding the Smith brothers in free agency. Preston Smith of the Washington Redskins and Zadarius Smith of the Baltimore Ravens. What these two guys bring to the Packers defense is size and power, ability against the run with a mix of pass rush in there. And then you throw in Kyler Fackrell, a player that's been known to get after the quarterback, a pure pass rusher at the position. This is a very nice trio for the Packers. And then Rashawn Gary through the draft, who did come out as an edge defender from Michigan, but may see some time as an interior defender for the Packers. I really love this group. And then you throw in Reggie Gilbert, another quality depth player at this position. The Packers have done a ton to address this position. A position of weakness in 2018 should become a position of strength. One of the best units, one of the deepest units in the NFL. Despite not having a stud, this is a very good edge position for the Packers. At number 4, I have the San Francisco 49ers, another team that this was a position of weakness in 2018. They turned around and made it a strength going into 2019. Nick Bosa is going to be an immediate force in the NFL coming right out of college. He pretty much compares every way to his brother, Joey Bosa of the LA Chargers, a pass rushing force. And then you add, through trade, Dee Ford, who was the best forced fumble guy in the NFL in 2018. He may have his struggles against the run, but this team as a duo, Dee Ford, Nick Bosa, it's going to be very difficult to handle. According to PFF, they ranked Eric Armstead as an edge defender, as well as Solomon Thomas in 2018, so I included them within this group at number 4 for the 49ers. Although I do see them playing as interior players in 2019, Eric Armstead ranked pretty highly, at least within the top 30 as an edge defender in 2018, very solid against the run. And Solomon Thomas, I think, will find that he will break out as an interior defender, but these two provide some nice stability and flexibility within the 49ers defense. At number 3, I have Nick Bosa's brother, Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa and the LA Chargers ranked here at number 3 alongside Melvin Ingram. Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram are arguably the best combination of edge defenders in the NFL, especially as pure pass rushers. Melvin Ingram to me is the more complete overall player, while Joey Bosa is more of the pass rusher. Melvin Ingram had one of the best defensive games of the 2018 season in the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens. Absolutely took that game over. They also have Nwosu, who's a pretty good edge defender as well, has a little bit of flexibility. He's a little bit smaller, so he can play a little bit of linebacker as well, but he graded out well from a Pro Football Focus standpoint as well. And Rochelle is another pretty good depth player just to throw into that rotation. I think that the Chargers, with that studly duo that they have, along with some decent depth, have one of the better top 3 units in the NFL going into 2019. And I believe this unit will play better in 2019 than they did in 2018. A little bit of a down season for Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram from a number perspective. At number 2, I have the Houston Texans. Now, this is kind of an asterisk beside it because J.J. Watt, from a Pro Football Focus perspective, was graded out as an edge defender, although I more consider him as an interior defensive lineman. Regardless, J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and Whitney Mercilus is one of the best trios from a pass rushing perspective in the NFL. And Jadeveon Clowney as an edge defender might be the best run stuffer in the NFL from that position. J.J. Watt is arguably the second or third best defensive player in the NFL still at this point in his career and is dominant in both facets of the game. And Whitney Mercilus is great in terms of his quickness, in terms of his ability to get that spin move off, has just great pass rushing productivity. And these three really make a dominant force for the Texans. And at number 1, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that's absolutely loaded with both pass rushers and run defenders and just edge defenders in general. Calais Campbell graded out as the number 1 edge defender from Pro Football Focus in 2018. Yannick Ngakoue is one of the best pure pass rushers in football, one of the best at creating turnovers, creating sacks, creating forced fumbles. Josh Allen, they drafted in the first round very highly, who was my number 2 edge defender in the draft. And then you have guys like Lorente McCray, Dawon Smoot. These guys are very, very good players as depth role players. Even a guy like McCray or Smoot, these guys could potentially be starters on other teams. That's just how much depth the Jaguars have. Number 5 at the defensive line position, the interior defensive line, is the Chicago Bears, headlined by Akeem Hicks, arguably one of the more underrated players in the entire NFL. Akeem Hicks graded out as the number 4 interior defensive lineman in the NFL, and I would say that he is as good as the number 2 or number 3 in the entire league, in the entire NFL. Akeem Hicks was a massive reason, outside of Khalil Mack, why the Bears were such a dominant defense in 2018, and really still does not get enough love for how good he is as a run defender and as a pass rusher. Just a pure force inside for the Bears defense. 2018 also saw the breakout season of Eddie Goldman, a player that was expected to do big things, finally broke out for the Bears. He ranked number 12 by PFF in 2018, and these two are a massive force against the run, and that's what makes the Bears so difficult to run against. Then you throw in Bilal Nichols, who had a nice season for himself as well in 2018, ranking number 32 by PFF. He's another just big body, not necessarily the pass rusher that Hicks is, but he's another guy that can help stuff the run for the Bears. And then Jonathan Bullard and also Ray Robertson Harris are 2 other quality depth players for the Bears. The Bears have a ton of depth at this position, and it kind of makes you realize why they're such a good defense, especially up front, because they're able to dominate the line of scrimmage with the rotation of players and rotation of big bodies that they have on their defensive line. At number 4, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, a defense that I believe their strength lies within their defensive line. Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, and Javon Hargrave are their trio along the defensive line. Of course, the Steelers play more of a traditional 3-4 style of defense, and these 3 are a huge reason why it was successful in 2018. Hargrave is a very underrated pass rusher from the defensive tackle position. Hayward's been a steady force throughout his career, and Stephon Tuitt, I would argue, when he's on the field, he has been the most dominant, and when he's left the field, when he's been injured, when he's been out, he has been the one that I believe they've missed the most out of the 3. Alualu is a pretty good depth guy who can fill in at times as a run defender, does not give the upside as a pass rusher, and that's why there is a little bit of a decline from number 3 to number 4, because these 3 are such a force. And then I really like the addition of Isaiah Buggs throughout the draft, so the Steelers remain as one of the better interior defensive lines in the NFL at number 4. At number 3, I have the New York Jets for their pure amount of depth that they have at this position, as well as the fact that they added, in my opinion, the best defensive player in this draft in Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams is going to be a force from day one. So Quinnen Williams, Leonard Williams, who we know is fantastic, and then you add in Henry Anderson and Steve McLennan, who are 2 forces against the run, especially Steve McLennan at the nose tackle position. Another team that plays a 3-4 base may see a little bit of a change going into 2019 are 4 players I don't want to run the ball against, and that's what makes them so intimidating at number 3. And then at number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. The Lions I've already spoke about at length in terms of their defensive line, but they had 3 players by Pro Football Focus standards. They ranked in the top 13, 3 of them. Damon Harrison, A'Shawn Robinson, and Deshaun Hand. Forces against the run. Snacks Harrison's the best player in football against the run. A'Shawn Robinson is another huge man that you don't want to mess with. And then Deshaun Hand is more of the pass rusher out of these three, and I could see playing a little bit of an edge role as well at times. But these three are going to be absolutely fantastic within Matt Patricia's scheme going into the second season because they're exactly what Matt Patricia wants. PJ Johnson and John Atkins are two depth players that aren't bad in their own right, and that's why I have the Lions here at number 2, the most underrated group of the 5. And then at number 1, I have the Philadelphia Eagles because Fletcher Cox is an absolute utter animal. I would say the best all-around interior defensive lineman. I just think Aaron Donald is number 1 because he's just such an amazing pass rusher. While Fletcher Cox is a bigger human being, he can move blockers a little bit better. He can beat you with quickness, but he can also beat you with power. He's good against the run. He's good against the pass and the pass rushing department. Timmy Jernigan is a player that the Eagles have missed when he's not been on the football field, and I'm really happy that they got him back. Hassan Ridgeway they traded for from the Indianapolis Colts, who's a good player and missed a lot of time in 2018, which made him kind of expendable, but the Eagles were able to jump on him and get value there. Malik Jackson is the big new addition, having a down year in 2018. I want to see how he bounces back, being a force for the Broncos and the Jaguars in the past. And Trayvon Hester actually had an elite grade by PFF before getting injured, and Hester is a pretty decent depth player, like your 5th guy at this position. Again, the Eagles are a team with a ton of depth. They just know how to find these big defensive linemen, and they take a bigger emphasis on the defensive line, especially the interior, more so than any team in the NFL, and they rightfully rank number 1 on this list. At number 5 for the linebacker position, I have the Tennessee Titans, and I could have ranked the New York Jets here at number 5, but I decided not to because they only have a duo of linebackers and they don't have that trio, or they don't have that 4th guy. Even though I love Avery Williamson and CJ Mosley, I decided to go with the Tennessee Titans because, firstly, I haven't seen the impact that the Jets linebackers will have on their defense, and I have seen the impact that the Titans linebackers have already had on this defense. The Titans linebackers do a ton for this defense, especially Jayon Brown, who's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He is an all-around backer. He is a little bit small, but he has the speed. He has the pass rushing ability. He has the coverage ability. He ranked in the top 10 from PFF standards in 2018. And I think he's going to have an even better year in 2019 with his utilization within this defense, all that he can do, his versatility. And Mike Vrabel is just going to know how to use him. Dean Pease is going to know how to use him again going into this season as he improves as a young player. I really, really like Wesley Woodyard. He's one of these players that has just gone from team to team and has just been productive throughout his career. Very fast, very good tackler, very sound player, smart. He is a very good number 2 linebacker. And then Rashaan Evans is the player I think is going to break out from this group. He is a player that reminds me a lot of Dante Hightower from the Patriots. Maybe not as big, but can do everything very well. I think he has an underrated skill set in terms of a pass rusher. It can play linebacker, is a good leader, an Alabama backer that I really, really like. At number 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles, mostly because of their pure depth and because all of these guys have proven that they can be starting caliber players throughout the course of their career, starting with Zach Brown, who was a top 5 linebacker by PFF in 2018. To me, he's one of the faster linebackers in the league. He's one of the better tacklers in the NFL. He does have a little bit of weakness in his game in terms of sometimes in coverage he can get caught up. Maybe he's a little bit too aggressive. But as a blitzer, I think they're going to find a way with Jim Schwartz in this scheme to really be effective with Zach Brown. Nigel Bradham is just a very steady force as a backer, can do everything very well. Grugier Hill has a player that's really surprised me since being on the Patriots. You know, they drafted him as a special teamer, and then he goes to Philadelphia. He proves that he's a great special teamer, and he ends up starting some games in place of some injured players and really shown his speed, his athletic ability, and it really shines within the Philadelphia scheme at times. LJ Ford is a player that's had some starting time throughout his career, graded out well last season. Paul Worlow is the interesting player going into 2019. Does he make this team? Does he not? What's his role if he does make this team? But he's been proven as an Atlanta Falcon in the past, and I think can provide some nice depth for the Eagles this season. And then Nathan Jerry is another player that has played some starting snaps, has played some time at linebacker, is capable if need be. So the Eagles, again, just have so much depth on defense. It's actually pretty ridiculous. Although I don't think they have an elite linebacker at this position, they have two very steady linebackers, and they have a lot of guys that are very proven. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. I really love the Buffalo Bills linebacking core going into 2019. I loved it last year. I love it this year. Starting off with Tremaine Edmonds, who I think is going to be one of the outright breakout players on the defensive side of the football in 2019. He's a freak of nature. He's very young. He's kind of developing still into his body and into just experience in the NFL. He's extremely long, which allows him to be really good in coverage, a great side-to-side linebacker. He's so big, but yet so fast. I think he's going to end up being one of the best linebackers in football, and I believe he's already pretty good at this point. Matt Milano is one of the more underrated players at this position in the entire NFL, and great in coverage. Lorenzo Alexander provides a little bit of a pass rushing force for the Bills and has been one of the more underrated players in the NFL for the past few seasons. Corey Thompson, Julian Stanford, and Dion Lacey are nice backups and just provide a steady force if somebody is to get injured. And a lot of these guys actually played last year because Matt Milano was injured last year. They are kind of the new set of linebackers that McDermott had in Carolina in the past, and I expect them to have a big season in 2019. At number 2, I have the New England Patriots linebackers, and I know Patriots fans were excited to see where I'd rank them on this list. I have them as high as number 2. And not only do they have great players that have a lot of positional flexibility, but they have a lot of depth. I remember going into 2018, Patriots fans were concerned about their depth at this position because Hightower is often injured, but man, they've turned out to be an excellent group. And by adding Jamie Collins to this group, the sky is the limit. If they can get Jamie Collins to play at an elite level that he used to within the Patriots defense, this might be the best group in the NFL because you have Dante Hightower and Kyle Van Noy who can do basically everything, including being two of the best pass rushers as inside linebackers in the NFL. And they can play edge if need be, or they can play inside, which is why I love them so much. Kyle Van Noy is more of the Mr. Do-It-Everything, while Hightower's kind of developed more into the edge player and more of the run stuffer pass rusher. Jamie Collins is a freak of an athlete, good in coverage, just if he puts his mind to it, can be one of the best linebackers in the league. Juwan Bentley actually was starting for this team before getting injured last year and can develop into a very nice young player in the league. And Landon Roberts has been a starter in his own right for Super Bowl winning defenses. So the Patriots rank in here at number 2. And at number 1, the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is a pretty obvious choice for number 1 as they have Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, two of the top 5 inside linebackers in the game, two great athletes, two very smart and instinctual players. And then behind them, they have Sean Lee, a veteran presence who can step in and replace them at any point, at any time. And Justin March Lillard as well is a pretty decent depth option. Again, this is the only team with 2 top 6 PFF graded guys, in my opinion, 2 top 5 linebackers, and just that duo is going to be so good for so long for the Dallas Cowboys. Number 5 at the cornerback position, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars might surprise some people not being higher on this list, but Jalen Ramsey did have a down year in 2019, as well as AJ Bouye. This entire defense had a down year. Now, in 2017, I may have ranked them as high as number 1. At his peak, Ramsey's the best corner in the league. At his peak, Bouye's a top 5 corner in the league. And DJ Hayden had some pretty good moments last season. The Jaguars are a really good corner group that I think have a ton of potential. And if they play at their peak, they might be the best corner group in the league. At number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. The Bills defensively last year shocked a lot of people with their ability in the secondary. A lot of that had to do with their corner play. But even going into 2019, the Bills improved their corner depth chart. Now they have Tre'Davious White, they have Levi Wallace, who ranked number 4 by PFF last season. Teron Johnson was kind of a shocking late draft pick who developed into their slot corner, who's a pretty good player. They added Kevin Johnson, and the guy that I'm very intrigued with is they added EJ Gaines back to the Buffalo Bills, who's a good player for the Rams, went to the Bills and was at his peak as a player, was a top 20 corner in football that season, and then went away to the Browns, really had a down year, and now he's back with the Bills. If they can get him back to where he was with the Bills, this is maybe even better than at number 4. At number 3, the LA Chargers. The Chargers have 2 elite corners, and that's why I rank them here at number 3, as well as having pretty good depth. Now, they have Casey Hayward, who's one of the better corners in the league, can play outside, can play inside as a slot corner as well. They also have Desmond King, who ranked as the best slot corner in football and was an all-pro player. Trevor Williams and Michael Davis are pretty good players as well. They're definitely starting caliber for just about any team in the NFL, and that's why I rank the Chargers here at number 3. At number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens are an extremely deep group of corners, and Marlon Humphrey, I think, is maybe the most underrated corner in football. He had such a good season last year, and a lot of people didn't talk about how good he was. Jimmy Smith is still, when he plays, a number 1 caliber corner with his size, his physicality. Brandon Carr, I think, had a really good season last year. I know a lot of Cowboys fans despise this man, but as a Raven, he's been very good. Tavon Young is a pretty sneaky slot corner. Anthony Everett as well is a pretty good caliber, fits the mold of what the Ravens want in a bigger corner. The Ravens have about 5 or 6 deep of quality corners, and they go into this season as one of the better groups in the NFL. And at number 1, the New England Patriots. If you've been following this channel, you know how much I love the Patriots corners going into 2019 with Stephon Gilmore, who was PFF's number 1 corner and my number 1 corner in 2018 going into 2019. J.C. Jackson had the lowest passer rating against of any corner in football. And then you have Jonathan Jones, who's a very good slot corner. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets paid more on the open market after this season. Juan Williams, they drafted in the 2nd round, who's a freak of nature at 6'4", could even take J.C. Jackson's spot if he plays really well in camp. Duke Dawson was another 2nd round pick who didn't really get a chance to play last season due to injury, but I really like him as a depth slot corner option. And Keon Crossan even saw some playing time last season in the playoffs against Tyreek Hill with his pure speed, and is probably the fastest player on the Patriots. Notice how I didn't include Jason McCourty in this group, because I'll be talking about him a little bit later. And the final position on the defensive side of the football is the safety position. At number 5 at the safety position, I have the LA Rams. Starting off with their new addition, Eric Weddle, the steady, reliable veteran. Eric Weddle is going to be the smarts, the leader of the secondary for the Rams, and I think this will improve this unit. As we saw, the Rams in 2018 were a little bit out of sorts as a secondary at times. I think Weddle will bring this leadership and this calming presence to their back end. Then you have John Johnson, who proved he's a elite caliber safety in the playoffs last year in 2019-2018 season. And finally, Taylor Rapp is a pretty nice rookie player who they got in the 2nd round, could potentially down the line be the Eric Weddle replacement. At number 4, the New York Jets, where I feel like the Jets have the best safety in football in Jamal Adams for all he can do, especially in the box, where he's absolutely outstanding. He's incredible at covering tight ends as well. This guy was drafted to cover Rob Gronkowski pretty much. Marcus May is very underrated, had a breakout season in 2018. A little bit faster than Adams, a little bit more of the free safety type. I think they have a very good combination. Miles is a pretty good number 3 who plays a lot of snaps for the Jets. And Doug Middleton is a pretty good number 4. I think the Jets combine a very good duo with pretty good depth as well. At number 3, I have the Atlanta Falcons for Keanu Neal, who is an absolute turnover-causing machine, especially forced fumble-wise. One of the true last big hitters in the NFL at the safety position. Ricardo Allen is a very steady free safety, along with the leader in interceptions in 2018, DeMonte KZ, who could see some time at slot corner as well as safety this upcoming season. Just a knack for intercepting the football, a knack for being around the football, just a playmaker in general. Underrated sort of depth option because we saw Atlanta last year had a lot of injuries at this position, so it allowed other players behind them to step up and show what they have. And really, they got KZ out of that, they got Niesman out of that, and they have one of the better safety combinations, safety depth charts in the entire NFL. At number 2, the Chicago Bears. The Bears had the best safety from Pro Football Focus last season in Eddie Jackson and the best pure playmaker in the secondary in 2019 in Eddie Jackson. Just a pick six, turnover, interception machine. Eddie Jackson is like this Peanut Tillman again for the Bears defense, where he just knows how to turn the football over. He knows how to make plays, and that's what Eddie Jackson is. And then you have Clinton Dix, who I don't think is going to be as big of a step down from Adrian Amos as a lot of people expect. I actually think in one regard, he's not as safe of a player. He's more of kind of a gambler in terms of his safety. He's going to go for the interception. He's going to go for the big play. But this actually, in turn, with some good coaching, could be one of the better duos in the NFL. Deion Bush is a very good number 3. Who can do a little bit of everything, and DeAndre Houston Carson is their number 4. I just love Eddie Jackson as one of the best safeties in the league. I really like Clinton Dix, and pretty steady depth as well for the Bears. And at number 1, I have the New England Patriots again. I just feel like the Patriots secondary is so good, and it's honestly underappreciated going into 2019. If the Patriots are an elite defense, it's going to be because of their secondary. And I think where I differentiate the Patriots secondary from a lot of other teams is no team puts more pressure on their secondary than the Patriots and Bill Belichick. No one plays man coverage more. No one blitzes and plays zero coverage more. The Patriots are very ballsy as a defense, and a lot of that is due to the fact that they have Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung and Duron Harmon and these corners as well. And then you throw Jason McCourty into the mix. I didn't add him as a corner, added him as a safety because we saw down the stretch of last season, once J.C. Jackson broke out as that number 2, they added Jason McCourty to this safety depth chart. And I think what it allowed them to do was play a little bit more man coverage with their safeties, because we know Devin McCourty was a corner at one point, so he has the capability of playing very good man coverage. Patrick Chung is very good against tight ends or running backs, and then Jason McCourty can take maybe a slot receiver or a bigger receiver in his own right, and Duron Harmon is just the closer. That's what they call him for his clutch interceptions. Those are my best top defensive position groups in the NFL. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to The Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this. It's Mitch. Peace out.